There is a lot of feeling kept behind the silence, and that is the first truth you needed to hear today. Not every distance is born from a lack of love. Not every silence means forgetfulness. Sometimes, the other person's heart is so full of unresolved things, so taken by fear, confusion, and memories, that they fall silent not because they stopped feeling, but because they feel more than they can explain. And I want to ask you to listen to this calmly, because what this message brings can touch exactly that part of your heart that was tired of waiting for answers. There are things the mouth does not speak, but the soul keeps repeating in silence every day. The angels show someone who tries to seem strong, tries to act as if everything is under control, tries to follow the routine as if nothing were stirring inside, but it is not. There is a hidden agitation behind this contained posture. There is longing being swallowed down. There is will being repressed. There is memory returning at unexpected hours. And do you know what I think when I listen to a message like this? I think that many people interpret silence the wrong way. Because when a person does not speak, the one who loves immediately imagines the worst, imagines disinterest, coldness, rejection, an end. But in many cases, silence is precisely the place where emotion got trapped without finding a way out. You perhaps have asked yourself several times what happened. Perhaps you reviewed conversations, looked at old messages, recalled details, tried to understand at what point everything changed. Perhaps you thought, if feeling existed, then why did this person distance themselves? Why didn't they come to speak? Why didn't they open their heart? And this question weighs, I know, it weighs, because doubt stirs more than a lot of hard truth. Doubt leaves the mind walking in circles. But the angels want to show you that behind this absence of words, there is an internal movement, much greater than you imagine. This person feels a lot, except they don't know how to deal with what they feel. There are people who know how to love and demonstrate. Others love and retreat. Others love and run away. Others love and freeze right at the moment they should approach. This happens because not every heart was taught to open up with maturity. Not everyone can sustain the depth of a bond when it touches old wounds, hidden insecurities, and fears that not even the person themselves understands right. What I'm going to reveal to you now is important. This silence was not born from emptiness. It was born from excess. Excess of thought, excess of emotion, excess of interior conflict. Before we continue, write this mantra in the comments. What is true finds courage to reveal itself in the right time. Write it with faith, because when you write, it seems like the heart agrees with that which heaven is confirming about your life. And continue with me, because there is still something very important that you need to comprehend about this situation. The angels show that this person still returns to you in thought, in moments of distraction, when no one is watching, when the day slows down, when the night arrives and the noise of the world decreases, your presence reappears inside them. It is not just any memory. It is something that touches deep. A detail of yours, a phrase, a gesture, a way of looking, an energy that remained marked. And the more they try to ignore it, the more they realize they didn't manage to simply erase what they lived with you. There are bonds that continue breathing even when there is no contact. There are stories that stay in suspension, as if the heart knew it hasn't finished understanding everything yet. I'm going to tell you one thing with a lot of affection. Do not blame yourself for having felt that there was something true there. Sometimes those on the outside try to diminish it, to say it was your impression, that you created too much expectation, that you need to forget it quickly. But those who live certain connections know when there was depth. They know when the look said more than the speech. They know when the silence after everything seemed too strange to be indifference, and the angels confirm that you were not imagining. There was emotional surrender, even if incomplete. There was a mark. There was presence. Except that afterward came fear, came confusion, came the incapacity to sustain what was felt. Have you already noticed how some people fall silent precisely when they begin to feel too much? It seems contradictory, but it happens. When the feeling is shallow, they deal with it with ease. But when they perceive they are vulnerable, when they understand that the other stirs deep areas of life, then they begin to defend themselves. They distance themselves, vanish, grow cold, observe from afar. Not because they stopped feeling, but because they didn't know how to continue feeling without losing control. The angels show me that this person entered exactly into this conflict. One part wants to approach. Another part steps back. One part misses you. Another tries to pretend they can follow without you. One part wants to speak. Another fears what might happen if the truth comes to light. Take a deep breath for an instant. Place your hand on your heart and perceive how this message converses with something you already intuited. Because heaven is not bringing this to feed illusion. It is bringing it to give you clarity. And clarity does not always mean that everything will return to be like before. Sometimes clarity means only understanding that you were not insignificant. Understanding that the other's silence did not annul the truth of what existed. Understanding that the feeling did not disappear just because it was left without a name, without a conversation, or without a conclusion. There is also something that the angels want you to see about yourself. This situation taught you to listen more to your intuition. It taught you to perceive energies, changes, presences, distances. It taught you that your heart captures things that facts do not always explain immediately. Only now you need to use this sensitivity with balance, not to lose yourself in endless waiting, but to recognize the truth and at the same time preserve your peace. Because feeling a connection cannot mean abandoning yourself. Loving cannot mean living trapped in an eternal silence. And I believe very much in that. When something is true, it does not only mark, it matures, creates movement, calls responsibility, asks for courage. The angels show that this person has remembered you more than they demonstrate. In some moments, they come close to sending a message. In others, they imagine a rencontre. In others, they think about what it would be like to hear your voice once again. But there is an internal barrier. It could be pride, it could be guilt, it could be fear that you have already changed. It could be apprehension of meeting a stronger woman, more conscious of her own value and perceiving that time did not stand still for anyone. This stirs them, because silence, which seemed a form of protection, began to become a weight, and what seemed control began to turn into restlessness. Now I want to ask you for something simple but powerful. Write 777 in the comments as an act of agreement with this message. Write it if you feel that heaven is bringing clarity to something that became confused inside you. And if this word is truly welcoming you, know that in the video there is a QR code for donation, and there is also a link in the description and in the pinned comment for anyone who feels in their heart the desire to support the channel. This support helps this message to continue reaching people who need comfort, direction, and hope. The angels are sending you a special sign. Your lucky number for today is 7. Write in the comments, I receive the energy of the angels. My lucky number is 7, and I receive this message with faith. The 7 speaks of depth, of hidden truth, of things that mature in silence until the right moment to appear with more clarity. And it is not by chance that this number arrives precisely today. There is a part of this story that has not been revealed entirely yet. And this part has to do with what this person feels when they perceive they perhaps let something rare slip away. The angels show me regret in formation. Not necessarily an open, assumed regret spoken out loud, but a regret that grows little by little. The person tries to move on, tries to occupy the mind, tries to deflect, but at certain moments they perceive that what happened between you was not common. And when this understanding begins to be born, Silence ceases to be comfortable. Silence begins to bother them. Perhaps you think you were forgotten. Perhaps on some days you even try to convince yourself of that to protect your heart. But the spiritual plane shows something else. You continue alive in this person's emotional memory, and that is no small thing. There are people who pass through another's life without leaving a trace. That was not your case. You left a mark, left a sensation, left truth. And the most curious thing is that many times a person only understands the value of a connection when they distance themselves from it. They only perceive how important that was when they try to live without it and feel the emptiness appearing in small details of the routine. If you are listening to this late at night, perhaps with a tightened heart, perhaps reliving things that no one else understands, I want you to feel that this message is keeping you company right now. Not everything needs to be resolved today for your soul to find some relief. Sometimes peace begins when the truth finally receives a name. And the truth here is this: there is feeling kept away. There is truth behind the silence. There is something not closed completely inside this person, but the angels also ask for care. Care not to transform this perception into an emotional prison. Because one thing is to recognize that feeling exists. Another is to place your entire life on hold. And I need to be honest with you, the other's feeling alone does not sustain a story. What sustains it is courage, attitude, maturity, presence, choice. So receive this message as a spiritual confirmation, but do not surrender your peace to the other's paralysis. Heaven does not want to see you begging for what should be offered with truth. Heaven wants to see you firm, sensitive, loving, but also conscious of your own value. The angels show that this person's silence also speaks about difficulty in facing their own truth. There are people who can only live with feelings by half. When it gets too serious, they flee. When they perceive they can love for real, they get scared. When they see the possibility of losing, they freeze, and this person is still struggling with that. They feel but fear exposing themselves. They think of you, but try to control this impulse. They want to know about you, but are afraid of what they will discover. They are afraid that you are more distant, colder, stronger, more healed. They are afraid of arriving late. And I ask you with affection, if this person broke the silence, would your heart be ready to listen? Not to idealize, not to delude yourself, but to listen with lucidity. Because sometimes life is not just preparing the other to speak, it is preparing you to listen in a new way, more mature, firmer, more faithful to what you deserve. The angels say that your heart is passing through a beautiful strengthening. You perhaps don't even notice it, but you are different, deeper, more conscious, less willing to accept emotional crumbs. This is growth. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe and stay with us. Here there always is a word of faith for when the heart needs to breathe, for when the mind is tired, and for when the soul needs direction. And I like to say this because no one should cross certain silences alone. Sometimes a message at the right moment reorganizes a lot of things inside us. The angels show me that behind the silence, this person also keeps things they never had the courage to admit. They keep phrases they rehearsed and didn't say. They keep requests for forgiveness that got stuck. They keep confessions that almost came out. They keep fear of having interpreted everything too late. They keep the discomfort of perceiving that life moved on, but the heart continued returning to the same place. This is not chance. This is a sign of something that still asks for understanding. Only there is another truth here, and it is precious. You don't need to beg for that which is real to move. What is real finds a way to appear. It might delay, it might face resistance, it might pass through phases of silence, but if it is true indeed, it will have to choose between courage and loss, and this point is approaching. What the angels show me is that this person is being led to face their own omission. They are beginning to perceive that continuing in silence is also a choice, and that choices have consequences. Write a list in the comments of people, including yourself, whom you would like to forgive. Visualize each of them. Send love and say, "I forgive you and I release you. May peace be with you." Do this calmly, because many times the heart can only see with sharpness when it lets go of accumulated weight. And perhaps a part of you still needs to free itself from what hurt, from what confused, from what had no name, from what had no answer. The angels want you to comprehend that the other person's absence of speech does not define your value. Repeat this inside yourself. Their silence does not diminish your light. Their hesitation does not erase your truth. Their confusion does not change what you offered with sincerity. I know that when someone falls silent, our tendency is to review ourselves, to find fault, to think we were not enough, that we spoke too much, that we felt too much, that we loved too much. But no, the problem was not your depth. Many times, what happened was the other's incapacity to deal with something true. There is a moment arriving when this silence can break, even if in a timid way at the beginning. It can come as a gesture, a discreet approach, a more present observation, an attempt at contact, because the heart, tired of hiding, begins to give signs, and when the lack tightens for real, the person can no longer pretend for a long time. But again, receive this with serenity. Do not despair by anticipation. Do not try to force a passage. Do not run after confirmation like someone who needs it to survive. You don't need that to validate your story. You already know what you felt. Heaven has already confirmed what existed. What you need now is to remain whole. Care for your energy. Continue your life. Protect your peace. Because when a woman strengthens herself, she ceases to beg for answers and starts to attract truths. And I like that image very much. Attracting truths, not living on confused signs, not living on endless suppositions, but on clear, dignified, real things. The angels want to conduct you to this place. Share this video with 2 dear people who need this message today. And if you can, also leave a prayer for your guardian angel in the comments. I know that this creates a beautiful chain around here, and sincerely, I believe very much in the power of several people uniting in good intention, in faith, in warmth. There are people arriving at this channel in very difficult moments, and sometimes a comment full of light becomes an answer to prayer for someone. The angels show me you leaving a place of anguish little by little toward a place of comprehension. Sensitivity still exists, emotion still exists, longing still exists perhaps, but a more mature peace already begins to exist. That peace that does not depend on everything being resolved. That peace that is born when you understand that you cannot control the other's time, but you can protect your heart. And this changes everything, because when the woman understands her own value, another's silence loses the power to destroy her confidence. Perhaps this person will still speak, perhaps they will still approach, perhaps they will still admit what they kept away. But the most important thing now is that you do not abandon yourself trying to decipher what only time can reveal. Trust what heaven showed, but walk with dignity. Trust what you felt, but without losing yourself. Trust that if there is truth in this, it will need to come to light in a concrete way. And if it doesn't come, even so, you haven't lost what you have most precious, your capacity to love with sincerity, your intuition, and God's protection over your life. I want to close by telling you something very simple, but very true. You are not staying behind just because someone fell silent. Your life didn't stop. Your brightness didn't go out. Your heart didn't err by feeling. There is a lot of feeling kept behind the silence, yes. But there is also a lot of strength growing inside you. And this strength is going to help you cross this story with more lucidity, more peace, and more self-love. If this message spoke to you, write in the comments, "What is true finds courage to come out of silence." Share your experience like this video and subscribe to the channel for more messages like this. Thank you for being here with me. May God bless your life calm your heart, and illuminate what still needs to be clarified. Until the next video.